Mr. Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to thank my electorate who has given me a third term without tire, and it's an honor, as for sure it's not easy in this city to get elected 3 times frequently. Mr. Speaker, as a Nairobian, this city has many angles that will require to be tackled with, and especially in the measures that the head of state put or highlighted during his address to the public. I would like to take note that, especially to the area of hustlers, this city is the hub of hustlers. And taking consideration that we have a very serious effect of COVID, which turned most of our SMEs to bankrupt, I think an urgent measure has to be taken to make sure that SMEs are back to their track of business. And in terms of hustler fund, I would like to take the first move to support this fund that I am very much aware that will go a long way with our SMEs, because Nairobi, we depend from our pocket. Here we does not grow anything, we are not farmers here, and we rely in our pockets. And therefore, we require such a support so that hustlers can be able to make their food on the table. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to thank the head of state for taking a lot of concern into areas of banking sectors, where you realize that our people have become bankrupt because of the CRB, that they cannot be able to access the readings from the various banking, and it's a very good step that the head of states have taken to make sure that the hustlers can be able to be lifted from where they have been hanged by the CRB. And therefore, this to me is a very serious mark that will give our SMEs and hustlers an opportunity still to access funding from various financing areas. Mr. Speaker, as I speak about the hustlers in the city, we have also a very serious acute of housing, and this housing sector is a serious matter that you realize most of the Nairobians settles themselves in what we call informal sector, and it's a high time that we need to make an inroad to make sure that in fact these informal sectors are converted to formal. And therefore, the agenda of housing is a very serious agenda, and especially to the hustlers of this city who are in formal sector. I would like to congratulate the head of state for coming up with a strategy on how both the formal and informal sectors can be incorporated in this particular housing program. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank that the head of state took a very serious measure on how the hustlers can also be, the informal hustlers can be also put into what we call saving programs. Mr. Speaker, it is of importance that as most of these formal sectors are able to save, these informal sectors are forgotten areas. But the head of state came with a very incentive program that in fact, once these informal sectors can be able to save 2 shillings, they can be able to be topped up with a saving. And this one is a big mile that will take our informal sector to a higher level. In this particular case, I would support that program should continue, and for us to rebuild this country and build our economy. Various sectors the head of state tackled are of importance. And I would like to state very clearly, we have agriculture, which has been a key to drive the economy of this country. And the head of state was very clear on how we can come out of these subsidies and try to be able to support the production of our sectors. In this case, I would support the highlighted measures by the head of state that the farmers, and this includes those who does farming of what we call green groceries, those who does maize, those who does sectors like tea sectors, coffee sectors, horticultural areas, because all these areas are important to drive our economy. And therefore, we require to make sure that we have given the enabling environment so that our farmers can be able to earn, and especially they can be able to save something at the end of the day. With the more our farming inputs will accelerate in terms of costing, is the more the costing of our food will rise up. And therefore, a serious measure is supposed to be taken so that this government can be able to ease the prices of our commodities. And this case is an area that we should, all of us, support to make sure that once farmer has been given an incentive that will give a production in a lower cost, then the people of Nairobi will be able also to enjoy the prices, the food cost, the food costing. When the food have increased, those people who reside in capital city, another big town, becomes the biggest sufferers of this particular area, because they depend even to buy a sukuma wiki from their pockets. And therefore, I urge that in fact the members will support this particular drive to make sure that at least these commodities will come down as we support the agricultural sector. I still, Mr. Speaker, brief in what we call how to bring back this economy, and there was a proposal of the head of state on how to seal the loopholes and the wastage to make sure that in fact at the end of the day we can be able to save from our current budgets going forward. And therefore, I urge that in fact that particular area also is given a big support, so that these sectors that actually sometimes are not well monitored and where the wastage gets its way out is areas that we need to oversight and make sure that our role as Parliament, we take it on a serious note, so that in fact we can be able to save a lot for this country. I believe, and this morning one of the speakers was very categorical and very critical on the area of corruption. And I think if we can put a stamp on this particular area where we can make sure that we can zero rate this corruption, we can be able to save enough and be able to have enough to share for economy. As we know that at least the point we are almost at the red flag in terms of borrowing. Mr. Speaker, there are serious measures that have to be taken to make sure that in fact we are within our levels of survival without being tagged to what we call borrowing every other day. I am sure, Mr. Speaker, we can be able to arrive to this dream if we can be able to make sure that our country has zero-rated this element of corruption. Mr. Speaker, I'm also of the opinion that, Mr. Speaker, if the area that we have that we call Juakari sector, the area that we call the informal sector, and especially in this particular city, is an area of a serious concern. And therefore, those who live here, those sides here, without proper arrangement, I think they will be on a very bad position. And that is where we urge that, in fact, as we consider other areas, we should not forget about the city. This city generates about over 60% of contribution to our revenue. And Mr. Speaker, it's also important when we are making sharing of these particular resources, let us not be forgetting that actually it does contribute such a hefty amount of money. And therefore, we would like also to be in that particular basket to enjoy what we just generate from within this particular city. Let the hustlers of this city also enjoy. You realize, Mr. Speaker, even our roads, sometimes, and this is a capital city, you find still we have roads that actually are what we call maram roads, and this is a capital city. It's a city that must be in the level of competing with the other cities of the world. And therefore, I would think that as we share revenue, let us consider that the capital city is the capital city of the country, and the capital city that requires to be given enough, so that as the city flourishes, the Kenya flourishes. And when the city is
nominated member Dorothy Ikiara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me take this early opportunity, like everyone else, to congratulate you